Impact Driven Entrepreneur, episode 43, how to fill your group program so that you can scale your business. Hello to more freedom, more income, and more impact.
Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur. I wanted to do a special bonus episode for you today. After doing the episode about how to keep a group program engaged, many of you inside of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur Facebook group asked me, how do you actually fill your group? I am still unclear about that. So I decided to do a couple of things. The first thing is to bring you this episode, because I know that, at the time that you're listening to this, whether it's in the future or it's now, you're probably kind of like on the edge of your seat. What do I do to fill up this group program? Like some of the people were inside of that Facebook group, the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, who came to me asking about that. So that's number one. Number two, I decided to create a coaching situation for me and you to actually implement everything that we're talking about in this episode. And by the end, you're actually going to have people for your group. So please come and join me inside of that opportunity. It's a 5-day challenge, fill your group program challenge, so that you can finally scale your business. To join me, go to bit.ly/fillyourgroup, all one word, bit.ly/fillyourgroup. Now, that's a super long URL. So what I'm going to do is put the notes inside of the podcast notes for this episode. So just go to your podcast player and click on the notes, and you should be able to get it. If you don't find it there, go to impactdrivenentrepreneur.com. Click on the blog section, and the blog post for this episode will have the link to sign up and join me. Again, this is a free coaching experience for 5 days. We're going to actually come out at the other end with what you're selling and actually people to sell this to. So that is a really, really exciting opportunity for you. So let's go into each of the things that you're going to need. The most important thing that we need to look at is your offer. And what I mean by offer is, what is it that you are selling? So number one is, what is it that you are selling? Your offer is a really, really important part of the success or failure of your group program launch, because it's the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, right? If 20% of your activity generates 80% of results, that 20% is your offer. Because if nobody wants what you are selling, then nobody will buy it, right? This sounds like super simplified. And let me just tell you, this took me a long time to fully implement in my brain and to come up with my own process that really works for myself and for my clients. And so I want to give you a couple of examples. The very first one is when I launched my first group program. It sold out. And I don't think it sold out because of my offer. So I'm actually going to give you a different example, but I will tell you about that later. So the first time that I sold out my group, my private coaching practice, what I noticed in the industry that was happening is that a lot of people were investing a lot of money into coaching and were really struggling to get an ROI back, especially brand new business owners. So what I created is what I called the Biz Boot Camp. And it was a 10 weeks, 10-week intensive coaching one-on-one with me. There was an application process. There were limited spots, so I couldn't take anybody. And by the end of the 10 weeks, the person in a brand new business from zero to, first few $1,000s in their business would come out the other door with profit, meaning they had made more than they had spent into the coaching with me. I did that in a time where I saw this as a huge problem in the industry, number one. Number two, it was brand new business owners, which honestly, going from zero to first few $1,000s is probably the toughest. If you work through that already, congratulations, it only gets better from here. Okay, so the reason I want to share that with you is because that was such an irresistible offer that I had so many applications I had to decline people because I just didn't have the number of spots. And the program completely sold out. Every single person in that initial cohort, I had about 5 people, I believe. Every single person made their money back within the 10 weeks except for one. And that other girl, it ended up just taking her another 2 sessions. And the only reason for that was because, and I mean, not to make excuses or anything, but the girl literally had a baby during like right before or during the time of our coaching. I think it was like right in the very beginning of our coaching, if I can remember correctly. And she still showed up and did the work. I mean, she was incredible. She kicked butt. In about 3 months, she grew her Facebook group from 0 to 10 or to 1,000 people, and used that not only as leverage for her programs, but she also wrote a book and she sold that book, and she ended up building a book funnel that sold out some of her coaching products too. So what I want to share with you about that is that I saw the problem in the marketplace of people investing thousands into one-on-one coaching in the very beginning of their business, where they probably didn't have any money or capital yet, and they were not making their investment back. And so I created this amazing guarantee and this very specific, very regimented, not regimented, but like a very structured program for it. It was a one-on-one program. They got one-on-one feedback from me, and I even went as far as listening to some of their sales calls to actually coach them on that sales process inside of the sales calls. So that is an offer, and that was the difference between me just being another coach selling a regular coaching program and me selling that program that completely sold out and I had to decline people for it. Okay, so that is the importance of your offer. Now, I'm not saying you have to have this crazy guarantee in order to make sales in your business. I'm not saying you need to have a crazy guarantee or put your own business like on any kind of risk in order to generate the sales that you want and make it irresistible. But what I am saying is that we have to make an irresistible offer so that you can get yourself to stand out in the marketplace. And I have developed a way of doing this, which I will share with you, like I said, in the challenge, and we're going to actually work through yours very specifically together. Okay. The second thing you need in order to sell your group program and actually fill it up is really having concrete launch goals. And the reason for this is because if we don't know where we're going, and it's very similar to why number one is number one, right? We need to know what the end offer is, like what are people going to buy. The other thing is we need goals. We need to know how much input we're going to need to put in order to get the output that you expect. What I find that a lot of business owners are doing is that they have an idea of what their goal is, but they don't have a way to concretely put the input in that they need in order to get that output. And so they're kind of like either throwing everything at the wall, not in a strategic way, which is not helpful, or they are just kind of posting and praying. Posting and hoping that it works to get them that result. And that is just not the way that it works. And if you look at people who are doing, 5 figures and up on their challenges and webinars and launches, right? When we're talking about a launch, those are kind of some of the ideas of what you could use. They are doing it based on numbers because what you put in is what you're going to be able to get back. But we need to make sure that the input is adequate for what you want back, okay? So I'm going to share with you some strategies, some formulas for you to actually work through that. And let me just take a moment here to explain what I mean by launch. A launch is essentially a webinar, a challenge, a video series, a email sequence. They can be called funnels sometimes. Anything that is a progression through the sales process. And it's ideal if it's generated by the person actually wanting to be there rather than just blasting it. Okay. The more of a hyper segment, or not a hyper segmentation, but the more the more that they actually want to be there, the more that they're actually going to pay attention. So that's important as well. So the way that you position it is really, really important. So that is number 2. We want to have some launch goals. Number 1 was have an irresistible offer. Okay. Number 3 is leads. Now, this is a problem that I see a lot when people are wanting to only use those strategies that I just mentioned, only use webinars, only use challenges, only use a video series, and then they just pray that it works, or they just pray that it's the right people with their Facebook targeting and it works, right? And again, this is just simply not the way it goes. You can exponentially increase your conversion rate when you combine marketing and sales together. And I believe that this is one of the things that makes me really unique as a coach, because I have taken dozens of courses online, and most of them are just going to teach you marketing, or they are just going to teach you sales. And what happened with me personally is that I had, a program that said, okay, well, based on your goals, you're going to need to have to invest, 2,000 in Facebook ads. And I was like, okay, well, at that specific phase in my business where I was given that advice, I was like, okay, well, I do have the capital because I had a very full one-on-one practice at the time, and my goal was to scale. So I went in, I did 2,000 in Facebook ads, and don't you know, I barely broke even on that launch after having to get an ads person to manage my ads and the ad spend of $2,000. And so the reason that I share that with you, it was a horrible fail. It was so hard to go through that process. And the reason that I share that with you is because had I known about this stuff that I teach, which is combining marketing and sales together, I would have been able to, number 1, make that launch go a lot better. And number 2, and I'm going to talk about that in one of the upcoming points, is scale sustainably. Okay. And so that's not how an initial launch would probably look if you're scaling sustainably. Okay. So all of that to say, we actually need real leads for the launch, meaning using a combination of the online marketing and the sales strategy. And the sales strategy is lead generation and identification of those people and actual messaging them and outreach to them. And I'm going to share with you how to do that inside of this challenge. Again, by the end of the challenge, you will actually have people for your group program. The other beautiful thing about lead generation for me personally is that if I see actual people who I think are a perfect fit, who I know my program can help, it automatically changes my belief about being able to reach my goal, because I'm like, well, there are the people, they are in the perfect position to learn the stuff that I want to teach. They seem like they're interested, they're qualified, right? Like all of the things. And therefore, I'm no longer in the I don't know if I can really do this phase. And instead, I am in the I know I can do this. I got this. And it is a much more empowering place to go into any launch and any sales situation, of course. So that's another thing about having actual leads and actual people. Okay, now, remember when I told you about the first time I ever sold out a group coaching program? I was about, probably like 4 months into my brand new business. And what I did is I created this very small group. I think it was about a month to 6 weeks tops. Like I was afraid that I wasn't going to love group coaching. And so I didn't do it super long. It was relatively inexpensive. And I had a very small list. I'm talking definitely under 1,000, and I'm thinking under 500 at the time. So what I did is I used the strategies that I'm going to share with you in how to actually generate leads. Like, where are these people going to come from? And I ended up selling that program mainly through those strategies. I did not know how to do marketing very well. My email list was small. My effectiveness of writing copy at the time really sucked. Like, it took me fumbling through that time for me to actually get to where I knew how to do that. I also needed a lot more training on doing the online marketing stuff and doing copywriting, and I just needed to develop my voice. And quite honestly, that just takes time. And so what I did is I focused on the sales strategies for the first, for that launch. And then that's how I ended up filling that. I wanted 10, I got 10. That was it. I will also say that I did make a huge mistake with that launch. And that mistake was that instead of relaunching that group program, I got scared. I stopped promoting it and I just didn't run a group again for probably a year and a half because I was in my head thinking that, well, maybe programs aren't as engaging, or the people in the group just weren't getting the same results as my one-on-one clients. And that's where I was comparing like oranges and apples. I mean, like, they had spent $190 something. It was a very small investment and it was for 4 weeks, and I was comparing it to like my 6-month coaching program. So I was just in a weird headspace. And so it took me a long time to work through the mindset stuff that I needed to in order to really fully embrace group coaching. And then when I did, it allowed me to launch the Impact Formula, which the first time that I launched it, it was a relatively small launch and has grown every single time I do that launch. It has been better and better and stronger. And now when I launch that, I know it's going to be a multiple 5-figure launch in my business. So I go for it, right? And that only could have happened because I knew that I needed to scale that sustainably, which is the last point, right? The fourth point here is we need to grow and scale sustainably. And I'm going to share with you what that roadmap will look like for you. Meaning, when you're going from a one-on-one model to a one-to-many model, we need to have a very smart strategy that is going to get you there. It does not happen overnight. You cannot, like I said, just pour thousands of dollars into ads and hope that that works. There is a way to scale sustainably, and we're going to be talking about what that would look like in your specific business inside of the challenge. Okay, so to recap everything that we've covered so far, the first thing that you're going to want is to create an irresistible offer. This is that 80-20 where 20% of your effort being spent on this irresistible offer is either going to make or break your ability to sell this group program, because if they don't want it, they aren't going to buy it. Period. End of story. Okay. Number 2 is launch goals. We need to know how much input we're going to need to put in order to get the output that you want from the launch. The third thing is lead generation. So that is actual people, actual human beings who want and need and are perfect for your group. The fourth thing is scaling sustainably. So where are you going to take this group now that it's full on the next version and the next version and the next version? And how are you going to progressively grow that group to be that, 6-figure group that you want to have as a staple inside of your business? That is what we're going to work on, because it doesn't go from 0 to 6 figures overnight. I know that there's a lot of controversy online and probably people who say that, and that's not how it happens. And so how do you actually progressively grow that so that you can generate that long-term revenue that you want? So that is everything that we talked about today. Like I said, we are going to go deeper on every single one of this. You will actually walk away with inside the challenge. You will walk away with leads. You will walk away with an irresistible offer. You will walk away with launch goals and an actual action plan of like what will need to happen in order for you to reach those goals. And you will walk away knowing what you will need to do to continue to scale this offer. So I'm really excited to host this challenge with you. Please go to challenge. And of course, that's a super crazy URL. So just go to impactdrivenentrepreneur.com, click on the blog section, and you will be able to see this post, which will have the link right in it. I'm so excited to have you in this challenge and to help you to actually fill your group program and scale your business. Now, if you are listening to this after the time that this episode goes live, after the time the challenge has ended, which is after Friday, March 30th of 2018, if you're listening to this after Friday, March 30th of 2018, what I want you to do is go to that URL, and there will be an option for you there for a waiting list for the next time that I run this. And so it's really important, if you are wanting to grow and scale your group program, just like we talked about here, go there and you can get on the waiting list for the next time that I hold this challenge. But if we don't have your name on the waiting list, you won't be the first to find out. If you're there, you'll be the first to find out about the next time that we run this live challenge, and I'm happy to help you when it's live again. Have an incredible day. Chat with you soon. Head on over to impactdrivenentrepreneur.com, where you can find an arsenal of videos, blog posts, and previous podcast episodes to help you increase your profit and impact. Again, impactdrivenentrepreneur.com, and click on blog. Enjoy.